So it's the same thing in the area of research, because you need to come up with your plan. The plan, the design has to do with a blueprint. And every blueprint you are selecting guides you on the method you should use, guides you on how you should go about on the target audience you should use, guides you on how you select the sample size, guides you on how to get data from the target audience, and also guides you on how to go about analyzing the data on the basis of what you have on ground. Am I communicating? So this is how you should go about it. We have different types of research design. We have different types of research design. Number one, we have descriptive survey design. Descriptive survey design. That one, it is usually used when you are trying to see a study that involves describing a given phenomenon at a given point in time. Do you understand? When you want to describe a phenomenon, for example, you want to know the trend and the extent of unemployment in Nigeria. The trend and pattern of unemployment. That is a study that involves only a single variable. And the concern is to give a description of the variable in terms of the nature of the unemployment in Nigeria and how it affects the people. The trend over time. Unemployment rate in the next 5 years, how does it look like? Do we have an increase in 2020? What happened between 2020 and 2021? Was there is the rate increasing or decreasing? So they're trying to find out. Come and establish some of the forces the increase and or decrease of unemployment. So descriptive survey design is when you are trying to look at a single phenomenon, aim of trying to describe the characteristics and the content of the phenomenon within a particular location at a point in time. We also have what we call correlational survey design. That particular design,
yes, I'm not hearing you.
Two variables. Example, you want to find out how unemployment affects crime rates in Nigeria or in a particular state in Nigeria. You understand? Now, specifically, you are talking about two variables: unemployment and how it affects crime. So that study is of what correlational research. How does variable, which is independent variable, change the character of independent variable? That's purely the approach. That research design on the design is determined by the nature of research.
So we are not hearing you. Is disjointed, sir, please.
So the one.
Sir, it's breaking. It's breaking, sir.
Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
What do you want to stand? No, I've just asked them. I even called now. They say it's not ready.
Let me change the system. Sorry, I'm trying to change the system. Maybe the other network is not good. Hello, can you hear me now?
Very clearly, sir.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yes,
can hear
sir.
you
Loud,
clearly.
loud and clear.
Please, sir, can you start from correlational, please?
I can hear you, sir. All right. What I was trying to say is that the correlational design is a kind of design that is employed when you are trying to look at a relationship between two variables. You understand? And I gave an example of what do you call it? The of two when you are trying to study a topic that has to do with two variables. For example, you want to understand the connection, the symbiotic relationship between poverty and crime in a given location. So all these things can fall under the the correlational design. In essence, you are concerned about whether the poverty in Nigeria, for example, or in a given state in Nigeria, affects the tendency to engage in criminality among youth in our society. That is the primary concern. Is that understood? So the correlation actually is about, for example, you can have a researcher. The researcher might want to study the relationship between maybe academic performance and family income levels among university students. So you are trying to say that family income level is a factor. Is a factor in the academic performance of the students. Are you with me? So, but you are just having it as a kind of tentative idea until it is validated by your research. So you are trying to find out how does that, and in doing that, you need to find out about some of the family status of your different students, and find out their academic performance from their result in their various or respective departments. I don't know how I'm communicating. And we also have an experimental design, and I just experimental design is the difference between please switch off your phone, please. Like I said, it explores cause and effect relationship by maintaining or manipulating one variable and observing effect on the other variable. You know, experimental is like it used to be said by some scholars or commentators. It is mostly used in psychological research, where you have two individual groups and you want to find out between the two groups. You want to find out the element of variation between the two groups, but you hold one of the group constant while introducing changes into the other group to see how the people in the other group react. You understand? For example, your researcher could want to randomly assign participants into two groups to test a new teaching method. One group uses the new method, while the control group uses the traditional method. The researcher compares the academic performance of both groups to see if the new method has an effect. I don't know where you're getting my point. The essence, maybe you have a new teaching method that you want to find out its effectiveness. So you have two groups of students. One group you hold it constant by teaching them using the old method. The other group you teach them using the new method, and at the end of the day, find out their performance. This will go a long way in telling you about the effectiveness of the teaching method you have employed. Am I communicating? And we also have what we call exploratory research design, and it is meant to explore a phenomenon where there is little or no previous research. You know, this kind of research is used when you are going to study something that is new, something that you have not seen any particular study empirically conducted or carried out to find out about the phenomenon. So
you are going into a new area. Therefore, you are to find out about the phenomenon. That is when you employ exploratory, because exploration has to do with trying to go and find out about something you don't know, something that is not known to people. You understand? Then we also have what we call case study research design, and it's conducted to conduct an in-depth interview. It's mostly used in the qualitative research, where you conduct an in-depth study of a particular case, particular group or group, individuals or events, to find out about the detail about the phenomenon. And the typical example is that maybe when you have a researcher studying a single organization that successfully implemented a conflict resolution mechanism within a multicultural team to understand how it works. So you can see that the concern is on that organization. You can try to say, okay, I want to study how a particular group of individuals conduct themselves towards a particular circumstance. You can say, I want to find out the level of compliance of students from different departments to a new policy of dress code. Am I communicating? So you take the planting one after the, so that will be the case study research design. Am I communicating? Now, having come to town with this research design, which we say that it has to do with the plan of action. But even if you have the plan, if you are doing a research, particularly in the area of social sciences, social and behavioral sciences, or humanities, if it is an empirical research, you need to find out, you need to tell us to determine specifically the target population for a research. That is the first thing you need to consider. Once you are able to come up with your design, the next thing is to understand your research population. Of course, we are all aware that population generally has to do with the number of people living in a particular geographical location at a particular point in time. But in a research, it's different. In a research, it's different. It's not only talking about people, it's talking about the people who are of interest to the researcher. It is talking about it's talking about the people who are the subject of the research. The people that the researcher intends to interact with. The people the researcher is going to collect data from. They are the target population. Am I communicating? If, for instance, I want to do a research about the like I used to tell you, the attitude of, I always try to give a local example, the attitude of the Apudi master students, Apudi MSc students towards their lecturers. Am I communicating? You can see that if we say Apudi and we say student, it means Apudi has different students. But my own research only intends to cover the master students or MSc students. It means then to say that anybody outside master student is not part of my research, is not part of my population. The PhD students are not part of my population. The PhD students are not part of my population. Am I communicating? So the research population is basically concerned about the people who are of interest to you. Let me give you another example. I think I've shared this example with you one day in the class. If you are doing a research on domestic violence against women, domestic violence against women in a particular location, in that case, you want to find out about that particular phenomenon from the point of view of women. And the target population in that research is nothing other than women in that particular setting, in that particular location. Are we together? But if you say domestic violence among married couples, now it covers both male and female couples. And you are only concerned about those who are married, because you can have male and female members of society that are not married. So your concern is about couples, married people. When we say couple, we understand what we mean. So anybody outside that, anybody that does not possess those characteristics is not part of your research. Because people tend to confuse. For instance, somebody may want to do a research about maybe the impact of a particular poverty alleviation program among the people of Kefi local government area, for example. So the person would go about telling us that, okay, the local government based on the census of 2006, or potential population of this and this has population of 200 million, for example. Or then therefore the target population is no, it can't be 200 million. The 200 million you have mentioned based on the NPC covers even children who are less than 5 years, children who are less than 1 year, even infant. The infant is part of the population. So you should be able to define the category of the population that are involved. And you're at liberty in so doing to say, okay, for the purpose of this study, I am taking adult members of society who are between the ages of 18 years and above, or adult male and female who are between the ages of 20 years and above. You are at liberty to choose. Am I communicating? Let me give you another example. You may decide to say you want to do a study on what do you call it, on substance abuse among youth in a given location. You know, the concept of youth has been defined differently by different authorities. But in doing the research, you can decide to ignore their definition and say, okay, now you are looking at youth who are between the ages of 20 and 35. And you give your reason as to why you are looking for those between the ages of 20 and 35. You can say you are looking at youth who are between the ages of 18 and 40. So the implication is that anybody who is looking at your work, reading your work, you should know that anything outside that age bracket is not part of your study, and you are not going to account for whatever happens to that person. Am I communicating? So research population is talking about the population of the people that are concerned, that are the subject concern of, or the major concern of the study, of the research. Now, because we are dealing with a research that has to do with the human beings, for example, sometimes we find it difficult to assess the entire target audience. In other words, we tend to meet a very large population size. Large population size. Am I communicating? So, for that reason, it is not going to be. It's going to be difficult, or if not impossible, for us to be able to meet this target audience one after the other. It will be difficult for us. Maybe you want to do a research in Abuja metropolis. Adam Modebola has a population of, for example, 110 million. Is it possible to cover 110 million population? The answer is difficult. It is difficult, if not impossible. So what you need to do, the research is very mindful of the fact that you can't be able to cover a large population, and therefore, research principles and procedure provides an option of what we call the sample and sampling. If you cannot take everything, then take a sample of the entire population. The sample has to do with a subset of the population. When you are sick, you go to the hospital, you consult with the doctor. Based on the explanation you will give the doctor, he will prescribe, he will suggest that you should go for to consult with a lab scientist based on what he directed the lab scientist to do. And when you get to the lab, they do examination of your blood. They don't drain your blood from your system. No, they take a sample of your blood. And I want to tell you, whatever they discover about that small sample of your blood they took is a true reflection of the content of your blood. It's the same thing applies here. So that is why in research, if you want to take a sample, ensure that the sample is representative and adequate. What do I mean by that? You have to take into consideration the various characteristics of the population in terms of gender, in terms of socio-economic characteristics. Am I communicating? And so many social characteristics, so that you don't let someone cheated. So that you give everybody, every member of the population, every sampling element, the chances of being selected in the study. For example, like the study I say you want to do in trying to find out about the attitude of the master students toward their lecturers or percentage of the master students toward their lecturers in a pudi. We know that among the students there are male and female. So if you want to select a sample among them, you are not supposed to say, okay, since I need only 20, I should just choose anyone. Maybe you end up selecting 20 males. It's not correct. Male and female do not have the same characteristics. And therefore, you should be mindful of the fact that in the moment you take one side of the gender, you may end up not getting the true picture of the situation because you live at a particular component of the population, understand, completely isolated, and you need to know about them. The kind of approach men have towards the issue of social reality is different from the kind of approach women have towards social reality. So you need to know their own different point of view. That's very, very fundamental. You understand? So the sample, but if you are selecting the sample and you are trying to ensure that every segment is represented, you should do that in such a way that it is proportionate. What do I mean by proportionate? Because some people, if they say, for instance, they have 700 population, let's say 300 female, 400 male, and they are supposed to take a sample of 50. They will say, I will take 25 from the female, I will take 25 from the male, that is not correct. It's not scientific. Scientifically, what you need to do, you do that proportionately on the basis of the size of the population of each of the categories. If the female component is having 300, the male is having 400, they can't have the same sample size. You can only do that mathematically. You take the total population of 700. So what you need to do is just to take the population of each of the components. For instance, 400 male divided by the total of 700, multiply by the sample size of 50. You will get a number that is required that should be selected from the 400 male participant. You do the same thing for the female, 300 divided by this total 700, multiplied by the 500, the 50 sample size. When you finish that one, if you add the two values, you are going to get, they have to give you 50. If you get anything more than 50 or less than 50, it means you are not correct. Am I communicating? But this sampling actually is not done haphazardly. Sampling is not done haphazardly. It's not done haphazardly. So there are procedures in sampling. You understand? There are procedures. You don't say, okay, because I want to, and it has two basic types: probability sampling and non-probability sampling techniques. The probability sampling is the kind of sampling approach that gives every member of the sampling frame equal chances of being selected, of being part of this research. Nobody knows who is going to be part of it. Everybody has equal chance of being selected to be part of the research. Not communicating. So under the simple random sampling, there are different techniques. Number one is the simple random sampling techniques. The simple random, it means, okay, yes, I have people here, I will select them at random by ensuring that every member in the class has chances. You can decide, I can decide to come to your class and say, okay, I need to select 50 students in this class, and the class is about 100. Then I will wrap a paper, 100 pieces. 50 I will write yes, 50 I will write no. I throw them away. I ask each and every member of the class to come and pick 1, 1, 1, 1. And whoever picks yes is going to be part of my research. You can see that you have given each and every member of the class equal chance of being selected. Am I communicating? That is a simple random. You didn't cheat anybody. You didn't determine how you some. No, you allow the student to choose who should be part of your research. Of course, they are the one that picks yes or no. Whoever picks yes, it means he's going to be part of you. If picks no, it means he's not going to be part of you. Am I communicating? Then the next one has to do with systematic sampling techniques. Why we have systematic? Sometimes, if you have a sampling frame has to do with a list of the entire target population. For example, if I want to do a research about that example I gave you about the family background and student academic performance, it's a research that you can easily identify the list of the student levels by levels in every department. You can get it, and that list of the student for every level constitute what we call a sampling frame. Am I communicating? So one way of doing that is that you can say, okay, instead of you to go and assess all the people and try to give them maybe the way that the kind of example I gave you, I say, okay, everyone should know. If you see there are many, you can try to use simple to determine the first end case. The first end case. You can use only a sheet and say whoever picks it become the first end case. Am I communicating? But before you do that, there's a way you can determine the fourth end case. You look at the target population. If the population, for instance, is 5,000 and the sample size is 500, you divide 5,000 by 500. Whatever you get will become the intervals between the sample A and sample B. Am I communicating? So, for instance, if you go to the list and say, okay, the first person you are selecting, or maybe you throw this thing before the audience. Am I communicating? You throw it before the audience and they pick, but you put yes in only one of the document of the sheets. Then whoever picks that one become the first end case. Then whatever happens is that the next person you will select, you go back to the list now. You systematically select the next person until you exhaust the list. If, for instance, the third person on the list pick the paper, and your end term 5,000 divided by 500 will give you, I think, will give you 10. So if you choose the third person as the first end case, the next person to select will be the 13th. You have to count 10. The 13th. I think that one, when we get to the point of doing the statistics, I will still demonstrate how to do all this mathematically for you. You count 10. So you keep counting 10. You keep counting 10. You keep counting 10 until you exhaust the list. And when you finish counting 10, and select all the people they have chosen, you have selected, you discover that they will give you the same number of sample size you say you want to select. If you get anything short of that, it means you are not correct. Am I communicating? That is the systematic. Then we also have what we call the stratified sampling techniques. You know, I told you that you should work with what we call the social characteristics of the individuals. You may have a population that is ranked. If you are going to do a research among staff, you know, among workers there are senior and the junior staff, and I want to tell you that they don't have the same characteristics. They don't have, in terms of their level of income, in terms of their spending and their way of life. Because to a large extent, your income determines your way of life to a large extent. So, if you have that situation, then what you need to do is to stratify the population, junior and senior. And if you do that, based on the size, if you are selecting the sample, just like the way I told you how to select between the male and female, you apply the same method to select them on the basis of the size of the population. But stratified sampling is not enough in a research. After stratifying, you have to tell us, go further and tell us how you select the sample from each of the categories, that is the junior and the senior. And you can simply see that if you want, for instance, if you have a sampling, you can easily say that you have applied either systematic sampling or you have applied the simple random sampling techniques. Am I communicating? Another sampling technique under this section is what we call the cluster sampling. If you go to most of our local government areas, we tend to have political wards. So you can say that, but you have to state it categorically. that for the purpose of this research, each of the political wards that we have in local government A will serve as a cluster. Then you have to establish how many people do we have in cluster A, B, C, and D. We have A to D clusters. How many people do you have in each of these clusters, and how do we manage them? It's very, very important. And you select sample from each of the clusters on the basis of the size of the population. Am I communicating? You know, this section of methodology is the most technical component of the. So I wish we had this particular class practically, so that I am able to give you. But I will still try to see how I can give you some practical demonstration on how to do all these things. It's very, very important. So these are the basic types of what do you call it? Of probability sampling techniques. The second type is non-probability. And non-probability has to do, it's the one that you choose, you decide. You don't give everybody equal chance, no. You decide on what to do on the basis of what you intend to achieve. And we have different types. We have snowball sampling now. It's one of the major types.
Sir, sorry, sir, what is the name of this one? I didn't get the name, sir. Please, sorry.
Non-probability sampling technique, and the first technique under non-probability is what we call snowball sampling. Snowball sampling techniques. Are you with me? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I hear you, sir.
Snowball sampling technique. And snowball sampling technique is usually used when you are carrying a research about a given population that you don't know them. You don't know them. For example, you want to do a research about ex-convicts to find out their level of integration back into the society. Ex-convicts, you don't know them, but you can decide to say, okay, you can go to the prison to find out the correctional center to give you the name of one person. Or if you know, if based on your knowledge, you know only one person, you identify that person, engage him in the interaction, asking the question, asking. When you are through with him, you say, okay, do you know any of your friends that when you were in the correctional center that you know if we were together? He can mention and give you the name. Then you move to that person. From that person, before you finish the question, you also ask him the similar question, he will refer to another person. That's what we call snowball sampling. You know the next person at the end of your discussion with the present person. That is snowball sampling. We can equally have what we call purposive sampling techniques. Purposive sampling always comes when you have a specific issue that you want to investigate, and that issue lies in a given category of people, and therefore you are going to propose select those people. And it is mostly used in qualitative research. In qualitative research, if you want to do an in-depth research into a given phenomenon, you look for people who have in-depth knowledge about the phenomenon. So the tendency to select those in-depth people is what we call purposive sampling, because you are purposely selecting them because they have the information you want. You are concerned about the people who can give you information. The people who are aware they have this information, and therefore you want to know from their own point of view their knowledge about the phenomenon. Am I communicating? We also have accidental. Accidental is the one that anybody you meet, you just pick the person. Anybody you meet, you just pick the person. But all these ones have their own shortcomings and flaws, because you may end up meeting somebody that cannot even give you any reasonable information. That's part of the problem. So these are the two major types of sampling, and their various techniques. And you have to know that before you do this sampling, you should be able to know what is your target population, and you should be able to establish what are the various characteristics of the population and what physicality do you need about the population. That will go a long way in shaping your ideas about how you can go about selecting the sample from the general population. I think before we go into the section on how to collect data, that's method data collection. Let's hear from your own point of view for what we have discussed so far. The floor is open for questions. The floor is open for contribution, and the floor is open for observation. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, sir, for the lecture so far. Please, may I ask, sir, that what kind of research will warrant you to use this accidental method or technique? Sorry, I think he's muted.
Prof,
sorry, somebody should
right.
Okay. Okay, I can hear you now, sir.
Yeah, I'm back.
Sorry, sir, I didn't
All
get
right.
you.
Accidental is when you are doing your research and maybe you don't know who is your target population. You don't know who you should go and meet. It mostly comes where you cannot clearly identify your target population. To define your target population, that is when you use accidental. Am I communicating? But the problem with accidental is that you may end up using people who do not have information about what you want. And that's a problem. But it is the techniques under the non-population sampling technique are also mostly used when you are doing a qualitative research. When you intend to collect qualitative data, that is when you use the techniques under non-probability. But the probability techniques that we have, the methods under the probability types of sampling are always used when you are doing a quantitative research. Am I communicating?
Okay.
All right. Another question.
Hello, Prof. Hello.
I'm with you. Go ahead.
Just on this accidental sampling technique, if you carry out your research using accidental sampling technique, how objective will your results be since the research was conducted using accidental? So what will happen to the outcome of the research? Will it be objective?
You know, so the major problem that you don't only use it alone in a research. You can combine it with another method device.
Okay.
You understand, ba?
Yes.
That's what brought about the idea of triangulation in research or mixed methods. You can hardly use one method in research, depending on the nature of your research problem. You understand?
Okay. Yes.
Thank
you, Prof.
All right. Any other question?
Hello. Yes, please, Prof. I joined us and welcoming you back. Good morning, sir.
Thank you.
In your absence, last Friday, we had Professor Ladi, who sat in for you and took us on this same chapter 3, which is research methodology. Do I assume this is a continuation of the same topic, sir?
It's just to rephrase it. It's just to revisit what we have discussed. In fact, ordinarily, I'm supposed to ask you questions. I'm supposed to even ask you questions ordinarily to tell me what exactly you have discussed on chapter 3. It should be more of an interactive session.
Yes, but interestingly, there are fresher perspectives to the same chapter, which is the angle that I really appreciate, sir.
All right, so well done.
Thank you, sir.
So it means
thank you.
Yeah,
we're on course.
Prof.
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Yes, please. I want to ask a question on time. Actually, applying to a topic. For instance, if my concern, for instance, you talked about this concern that the basis of the study should be a concern we have. Now, let's say I have a concern to investigate whether peace building has been done in a particular area, okay? And if any or otherwise, has it had any significant impact and possible areas of improvement? What can be done? I want to measure something. Has it been done before? And yes or no, I don't know. So I'm investigating. How can I phrase that topic? And is it exploratory type of research design I'm talking about here? I don't know if you get me.
The peace building approach, it, am I right?
Sorry, I didn't get you said.
You know about a particular building approach that is used in a given community.
No, we don't even know if there is such has been done before.
And your concern is
yes. We want to even has this community ever
you don't even know whether
in any way done any process of peace building deliberately, not implicitly, I mean explicitly, knowingly, not by chance.
Okay, that's an exploratory research. You are exploring, you are trying to find out. So it's exploration about whether something exists. Because you don't have the brief knowledge about it. But if, for instance, you are aware that a particular peace building approach was used, listen to me, you are aware it has been used somewhere.
Yes, I know other places, yes.
If you want to find out a particular peace building approach that was used in given the question, you understand, maybe if it has not been done anywhere, then it should become an exploratory research. You want to find out whether it's being used in the community. You understand? But if it has been used now, you want to find out whether it is the same thing here. Are you getting it? And nobody has done anything about it in that particular location. You get the point? It's like the line is breaking. Maybe if it has not been done anywhere, then it's become an exploratory research.
Yeah, I'm not even talking about just one process. I'm talking about even the process has any at all been done. Any of the processes that we know. They have been done in this community. Have they ever in this community done anything like deliberate intentional peace building at all? So it means the soft question. Because you don't have any knowledge about that. Yes. I think that's the question. It's exploratory. Yes, Prof. So how might I phrase such a topic? Can you advise me? How might that a topic for a research topic? Your concern is to find out. You talk about so many things. You talk about whether it exists. You talk about the impacts. Am I communicating? So yes, if it exists. Which one are you trying to measure? In research, you have to be very clear. Which one do you intend to measure to find out? Whether it exists. Is it the impact? Yes, that's the question. No, whether it exists. Because if I can't talk about impact if there's none. Impact has to be based on what has been happened, and it's exactly what has been. There's no confirmation anything has happened. Exactly. So it means you have to remove the word impact. Yes. You understand? Yes. Maybe people have been making noise about you don't have any little or any information about the trend of the peace building approach, traditional peace building approach among a given population, among given people. You don't know about it. I only know there are conflicts and there are issues and challenges. Assessment of the peace building. Exactly, there are conflict issues, and you want to find out how they traditionally assess, you want to assess how they traditionally their or build peace situation, manage their conflict within that particular environment. Yes. So you can say assessment of traditional peace building to assess, and in that assessment you are trying to find out whether they have it. Do they really have? Okay. Any traditional peace building mechanism? If they have it, what is it like? And what are the various techniques or methods they employ in trying to do that? And how effective are they? Am I communicating?
These are some of the research questions you ask.
Yes.
To what extent does the peaceful approach or affect or bring about peaceful cohesion among the various components or groups in that particular environment? Are we together?
Okay.
Yeah. So these are some of the this question I asked. There are some of the research questions you should ask, and you drive your research objectives from them in the course of your research. I know some of you are asking questions in the area that you intend to carry out your to write your thesis or dissertation, so that you can properly get it. And actually, that is the essence of this interaction. You know, the concern here is not all about writing only grading you. It's for you to have the practical knowledge of how to go about doing this research after your work. For me, that should be the primary motive, to have the practical knowledge of how you should go about it. You understand? Not to read and write exam and pass exam only. No, you should have the knowledge, because it's something that you must do before you finish your program. Any other question?
Prof, good afternoon, sir. Looking,
How are you?
you've been able to let us know that simple random technique, systematic sampling, stratified sampling technique, snowball sampling technique, are all parts of probability sampling techniques. I really don't
No,
get
point of correction. Snowball. I didn't say snowball is part of probability. Snowball is part of non-probability sampling.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Snowball is under non-probability sampling.
Okay, snowball, purposive, and accidental are non-probability.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Prof.
You're welcome. Questions, please, before we proceed. All right. So now we have a study. We are able to prepare our design. We are able to identify the target population, and we are able to identify the sample. And we are able to identify the key people we are going to interact with. What next is how to collect the data. Now we are moving to the methods of data collection. How to collect the data. Am I communicating? And we have in this case also we have quantitative methods, and we also have qualitative methods of data collection. Quantitative method and qualitative method of data collection. Quantitative methods are the ones that involves collecting data in an empirical form, in a numerical form. Am I communicating? And the major instruments that is used under this one are two. Number one is questionnaire.
Sorry, sir. Sorry, sir.
Yes.
Please.
Yes.
Sorry, you were saying something about numerical, so I didn't get you. I know I stopped at qualitative and quantitative.
Quantity. When we say quantity, it means something that is countable. Using what? We count something using what? Numerical values. Using numbers. So what I'm trying to say in essence is that quantitative methods are the ones that are actually used to elicit data in numerical form, in numbers. And the first method or technique or instrument that is used in this case is questionnaire. You know, questionnaire, in most cases, you administer questionnaire to the target population by having your questions constructed or framed in such a way that it will have some categories. Am I communicating? If, for instance, I want to do a research about the youth, or maybe a student academic performance, the one we just made reference to, I need to ask students about their gender. And when we say gender, you give us options of gender. You say male or what? Female. When you say age, you give age categories or age bracket or age intervals. Let's say 18 or let's say 18 to 25, 26 to 34, and so on and so on. It goes like that. So that wherever the respondent belongs, the person will take it. At the end of everything, if the person is trying to come up or to make meaning out of the data, once the data is collected, the data is going to be coded using numerical value. For example, if you are coding a questionnaire, for each question or for each variable, you code the categories using number 1, 2, until you exhaust the entire categories. The variable of gender, for example, it has 2 categories. Therefore, male category, which is the first one, will carry 1. The female will carry 2. If you are doing a research where you have a variable of educational qualification, and you have options A, B, C. The A is primary, the B is secondary, and the C is tertiary. If you are doing if you are coding the categories, you code primary 1, you code secondary 2, you code tertiary 3. If they are up to 10, that's how you continue coding until you exhaust the categories. For that category has to do with the options for each question in the questionnaire. Not communicated. So that at the end of the day, if you want to analyze the data, if you get to the point of gender, if you are talking about female gender, you're not talking about female, you're talking about the number assigned to the female gender, which is 2. So in the analysis, wherever you see 2 is referring to the female gender. So in quantitative methods, in quantitative approach to data representation analysis, you assign figures to the variables, to the category of the variable. So like I said earlier, the major instrument used here is questionnaire, where you have as many close-ended questions as possible. Close-ended question here has to do with questions that will limit you to options. The question will restrict you to a number of options, and you are able to only one out of the options. The one that suits your opinion, the one that suits your interest. I'm not communicating. So at the end of the day, we will use those responses and see how we can statistically analyze the responses. Another instrument under this quantitative method is structured interview. The structured interview here is like a questionnaire, but it's a type of interview that you meet with the individual respondent one-on-one, asking them questions yourself. They will and telling them the options while they are responding to the one they want. To the one, and most of the time you use this one when you are dealing with a non-literate population. But if you are dealing with a literate population, you can use questionnaire, administer, give them to fill in themselves and bring it. But when you have a non-literate population, that's the best situation where you can use a structured interview, where you have your questions and you will be the one to be asking them questions one after the other. If you ask question, what is your gender? You listen to them and explain to them in the language they understand, because they are non-literate. That's what you'll be doing in trying to administer structured interview or conduct structured interview. You have to, if the people they are non-literate, if you cannot speak the language they understand, you invite an interpreter to help you interpret that. So as they are responding, you are taking. As they are responding, you are taking. That's what called structured interview. So it is also analyzed like every other quantitative method of data collection. But the qualitative involves in the collection of detailed information about a given phenomenon. The quantitative approach is usually applied when you are dealing with a large population, the quantitative. But qualitative is mostly used when you are dealing with a small group of people. Am I communicating? I think I have this clear distinction between the quantitative and qualitative research in the document that's going to be given to you by APUDI. And as I promise you, I'm going to make sure that by tomorrow I send the material to, in fact, if not this night, to the approach so that it can be for onward submission to the students. Am I communicating? So under the qualitative method, we have different other techniques. We have focus group discussion. That is, we call it FGD. We have in-depth interview. We call it IDI. We have observation methods. Am I communicating? Observation method. We have key informant interview. And we also have observation methods, FGD, IDI, and key informant interview. Am I communicating?
Yeah.
Hello?
I have a question. Yeah.
Okay, I'm listening.
Yes, sir, you are communicating, sir.
Okay.
So looking at the classification of the structured interview under quantitative. So the clarification I'm looking at is where there are instances where you develop like a qualitative tool like an FGD, but that FGD has like this structure in terms of the quantitative attributes. So even though it is qualitative in nature, but
no. FGD purely is a qualitative approach, and therefore it doesn't carry some element of some quantitative attribute. Because why? Because the only thing you may use is to identify to say, okay, how many in a group, how many female. You can only use that one. But apart from that, if you are going to the many issues of the research, you don't need to quantify them. What you are after is the detailed information, detailed data you have elicited from the people. And the people you are going to interact with must have detailed knowledge of the subject matter. So you don't select all kinds of people in qualitative approach, no. It has to be people who have the knowledge about the subject matter or topic of research. That's how it should be. Am I communicating? Any other question? Hello?
Prof, sorry, Prof, sorry. If I heard you clearly, you made a summary here which I didn't get. You were like qualitative approach is used on a small group of sample or audience.
When you are doing a research that involves small group of people, then you can have qualitative approach. But you can have a study that will combine the two, both quantitative and qualitative. In other words, you can have a research that will require you to use questionnaire at the same time conduct immediate interview. Like a study about the impact of a given program among the people. You can use questionnaire as a quantitative instrument to collect data from the general public, but you can also use in-depth interview to interact with heads of or leaders of the various community or settlement within a given locality, because they can provide you with little information about it. Am I communicating? You can also interact with the people who implement the program. The people who have gone through in the process of implementation of the program, they have knowledge of the program, and therefore they will tell you how they've gone about doing that. They will tell you the challenges they face, and that will go a long way in guiding you on how to come up with a new program of that nature. Am I communicating?
Yes, Prof.
All right. Any other question? Because it is now I just saw the time that I pray at 1. I pray at 1. I have to start preparing to go to the mosque. So I think if we in our next class, I don't know whether we are coming physically. If we are appearing physically, we are going to talk about statistics. But if it is virtual, we will take these types one after the other and discuss them. Not only that, and also describe the procedure you should follow in trying to control or administer each of these types. Am I communicating? Questionnaire, for example, under what condition do we use questionnaire?
And what are the procedure? Okay, social interview. When do we apply it? Why do we apply it, and when do we apply it? And how do we apply it? In trying to discuss it, we will answer this question: when, why, and how do we use each of these methods? Am I communicating? So please, questions. Like I told you, I want to prepare for the mosque. Yes, I play at one.
Prof.
All right, I'm listening.
I hope this question doesn't take us back too far, Prof, if you can hear me. What factors do you consider? What factors do we consider in identifying our population for research? What factors do we consider in identifying our population for?
I don't understand. You are
we just want to drink from your experience.
It depends on your topic.
Yes.
It depends on the nature of your topic, the nature of your research problem, and your research objectives. I guess. The nature of your topic, the nature of research problem, the data you want determines the population of your research. Do you understand? What you want to get determines who you meet. That's the point I make. What you determines what you actually use to get what you want.
Yes, sir.
Any other question? Any other question? Are you sure you are hearing me?
Yes, sir, Prof.
Hello?
Yes, we are hearing, sir.
So there's no any other question? If you don't have any other question, I think I will stop here because, like I told you, I want to prepare for the mosque. One.
May Allah answer our prayer, sir.
So, I mean, thank you. So we call it a day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, the press. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate it, sir.